quiet modern kitchen resting in shadows, where a single bulb holds ancient, forgotten secrets. Layers of pale paper skin hide a violent past, a history written not in gold, but survival. The warmth of the hearth fades away entirely, yielding to the bitter winds of a distant realm. Welcome to the harsh peaks of the Tian Shan Mountains, where ice dominates the barren, rocky earth. Beneath the crushing weight of relentless frost, a fragile green shoot breaks through the frozen soil. This primordial wilderness offers no mercy to the weak, demanding absolute resilience from every living botanical entity. Nature forces this wild plant to evolve aggressively, developing a brutal chemical defense beneath the rough soil. It does not summon sweet fragrances to attract life. It creates a burning, volatile sulfur compound called allicin. Hungry scavengers roam the desolate frozen valleys, searching endlessly, desperate for any roots hidden deep within the permafrost. When bitten, the bulb violently unleashes its hidden weapon, a sharp, burning sensation quickly repelling the hungry beast. The creatures flee from the intense, acrid sting immediately, leaving the resilient, strong bulb to conquer the wasteland. Through brutal adaptation, it thrives in utter darkness alone, storing vital life energy within its tightly clustered cloves. But a new predator soon arrives on the steppes. Upright, walking human wanderers migrating across the frozen plains. Calloused hands pull the pungent root from the earth, discovering a fierce fire that burns without any flame. This defensive poison becomes their ultimate medicine and sustenance, paving the destined way for the greatest ancient empires. The harsh winter winds carry the scent of frozen soil across a land completely untouched by human civilization. Beneath the unforgiving ice, a microscopic battle wages silently as tiny fungal spores desperately seek out warm sustenance. Survival here demands more than just a strong root. It requires a vicious and highly potent chemical warfare. As dark rot attempts to breach the pale skin, the sleeping bulb violently awakens its cellular defense mechanism. Two dormant compounds rush together within the bruised tissue, merging rapidly to form an explosive, invisible, burning shield. The microscopic invaders are immediately destroyed by the reaction, leaving the isolated, resilient plant completely unharmed and victorious. This powerful, burning oil is known today as allicin, a raw, natural pesticide designed only for absolute survival. For thousands of years, it grew in total isolation, an unbroken lineage of fiercely bitter and spicy roots. Eventually, shifting climates begin to warm the frozen steppes, slowly softening the hard, impenetrable earth crust around them. The wandering nomadic tribes finally settle near fertile riverbanks, carrying the pungent bulbs within their woven leather pouches. A heavy stone crushes the harvested cloves without mercy, releasing an incredibly sharp and tearful aroma, instantly everywhere. They discovered it cured their sickness and restored energy, elevating the humble root beyond mere daily wild forage. The burning sensation was no longer feared or avoided. It was deeply revered as a divine, healing fire. As small tribes rapidly expand into massive, sprawling civilizations, this potent medicinal plant follows their long migration trails. The wild root of the frozen steppes is gone. It is now marching toward the golden desert sands. The vast golden dunes tremble under the scorching heat, revealing a monument built purely on mortal human suffering. To endure this punishing labor beneath a merciless sun, workers rely entirely upon a bitter and potent root. They do not eat delicate feasts of roasted meats. Their daily ration consists solely of raw, pungent garlic. This fierce plant ignites a temporary fire within them, granting desperately needed stamina to endure the crushing weight. Within the shadow of these rising, colossal, ancient tombs, the humble bulb acts strictly as heavy physical currency. Royal scribes meticulously record every single harvested pale clove, measuring raw energy precisely against the heavy stone blocks. Without this vital medicine sweeping through the crowded camps, disease would rapidly consume the entire exhausted working population. The harsh sting of allicin cleanses their tired bodies, destroying unseen parasites hiding deep within the filthy water. It is the sacred fuel of the ruling empire, keeping the immense gears of production moving forward relentlessly. To control the garlic is to control the people, holding the very breath of thousands in one hand. But the endless supply of magic roots suddenly falters, causing panic to spread quickly through the vast desert. The daily rations are heavily reduced without any warning, leaving the tired builders completely drained of their strength. The heavy grinding sound of the massive stones stops, breaking the eternal silence of the vast desert horizon, refusing to lift another stone without their sacred root. The workers initiate the first massive strike in history. An entire civilization pauses on the brink of collapse, desperately negotiating for a few pungent, white-dried bulbs. The ruling pharaohs are forced to immediately yield, restoring the sacred, pungent rations quickly to the exhausted men. Royal treasury chests are slowly thrown wide open, revealing white bulbs shining brightly, instead of yellow gold. The rhythmic grinding of the massive stones resumes, echoing loudly across the endless, silent, golden desert horizon. Every sharp bite reignites the fiery internal stamina, allowing fragile mortal bodies to build immortal stone mountains. Even in death, the divine pharaohs demand protection, taking baskets of pungent bulbs into the dark underworld. Perfectly preserved cloves rest near the golden sarcophagus, waiting to repel evil spirits throughout eternity without failing. Time slowly buries the mighty ancient desert empires, leaving the colossal limestone tombs standing alone in silence. The sands of time cover the forgotten altars, preserving the dry, brittle skins of the ancient garlic. The winds of commerce shift toward western shores, carrying the potent medicinal roots across the treacherous oceans. Deep within the damp belly of wooden ships, the bitter bulbs quietly survive the long, dark voyage. Medieval Europe awakens under a shroud of fog, completely unaware of the looming, terrifying dark shadow approaching. Filthy streets overflow with absolute misery and decay, creating a perfect breeding ground for unseen, deadly horrors. A creeping pestilence slowly infects the trading ports, bringing a gruesome, painful death to every crowded village. The desperate peasants crush the familiar strong herb, seeking any possible meager defense against the invisible reaper. The shadow of the Black Death falls heavily, and the humble garlic bulb faces its darkest hour. A deadly plague consumes the crumbling stone cities, sweeping silently through the terrified and helpless population. The invisible shadow marks every single wooden door, leaving behind a tragic trail of endless sorrow. Desperate citizens turn to the ancient medicinal root, seeking any sacred, powerful protection from absolute ruin. Rough hands quickly crush the pungent white cloves, hoping the harsh, burning essence will save them. From the dense, toxic fog emerges a nightmare, wearing a terrifying, dark leather, bird-like mask. The long, sinister beak is heavily stuffed tight, holding dried flowers and pungent, magical white garlic. He walks bravely into the deeply infected homes, breathing through the fierce chemical, defensive botanical shield. Grave robbers soak the potent roots in vinegar, creating a legendary dark liquid to prevent infection. They wander freely among the silent, decaying corpses, stealing golden rings while heavily bathed in garlic. The volatile sulfur coats their skin like armor, blocking the invisible toxic miasma from their lungs. As the devastating dark years finally, slowly pass, the surviving population deeply worships the healing bulb. Thick braided clusters are hung above every doorway, guarding the fragile living souls against returning evil. It becomes the ultimate shield of the poor, offering cheap but highly effective, powerful, natural immunity. Boiling cauldrons simmer with the fierce, pungent cloves, transforming bitter medicine into daily, comforting, warm nourishment. But this deep association with death and survival plants a deeply rooted fear into European folklore. The dark, dense forests of Eastern Europe whisper, holding ancient, terrifying, dark secrets hidden deep within the shadows. Deep inside the isolated wooden mountain cabins, flickering warm fires illuminate hanging braided roots against the cold. Peasants believe the fierce, sulfurous burning scent creates an invisible, holy, magical barrier tightly around their homes. A silver cross rests upon the table, sitting carefully beside crushed, raw, bitter cloves. In the moonlight, legends of bloodthirsty, immortal, wandering undead nobles quickly begin to spread terror wildly everywhere across the land. The humble pale plant becomes a weapon, offering cheap but highly effective spiritual defense against the vampires. Fear drives the desperate, paranoid village people to fiercely rub the pungent, sharp oils on window frames. The volatile, acidic juices soak the wood, sealing every single vulnerable, dark entry point from evil spirits. Even deceased family members receive the root, placed gently inside their quiet wooden coffins for eternal protection. A single unbroken white clove rests silently, sitting heavily upon the cold, dead chest under the earth. The superstition deeply embeds into local culture, transforming the defensive herb into a legendary, holy botanical shield. Mothers gently rub the mild diluted oils, blessing their innocent, sleeping, newborn, tiny children against the darkness. It was a cheap, widely accessible magic, giving immense, absolute psychological comfort and power to the poor. The strong, pungent smell of the peasantry heavily saturates their worn, thick wool clothing throughout the winter. While the terrified poor worshipped its power, the wealthy royalty looked down in absolute and complete disgust. The royal courts banished the scent, declaring the pungent root completely unfit for their delicate noble palates. Elite kings feast on exotic sweet spices, rejecting the fierce burning bulb entirely, leaving it to the poor. But out in the muddy, wet fields, the resilient peasants cultivate vast, endless rows of the forbidden wild garlic. A simple knife slices the raw cloves, releasing a deeply sharp and savory aroma into the cold, freezing air. As mighty empires rise and slowly fall, the humble root silently conquers new continents across the vast, unforgiving ocean. Barrels packed tightly with pungent white bulbs travel safely alongside heavy iron merchant anchors, enduring the brutal sea storms. Crowded immigrant streets smell of familiar sulfur, bringing ancient defensive medicinal botanical secrets directly into the modern, bustling cities. Heavy iron skillets fry the crushed cloves, transforming raw, aggressive heat into golden sweetness, feeding the exhausted urban workers. Elite aristocratic chefs eventually bow and surrender, secretly blending the sharp, pungent, earthy flavor into their most refined sauces. A fine silver spoon stirs the pot, melting the deeply roasted, caramelized ancient bulb into absolute pure culinary gold. Today, massive agricultural fields cover the earth, mass-producing the ancient, fierce, defensive poison for every single modern human. Steel blades rip through the soft dirt, pulling millions of pale white, papery bulbs from the dark, fertile ground. Supermarket aisles overflow with the tamed root, completely forgetting the dark, brutal, savage history hidden beneath its pale skin. A modern hand selects a flawless bulb, unaware of the incredible, epic, violent journey spanning across thousands of years. The wild plant of the freezing steppes now rests quietly inside our warm homes, patiently waiting to be crushed. A heavy steel blade descends slowly downward, violently crushing the brittle, papery skin against the wooden board. Ancient cellular walls are completely shattered open, instantly awakening the fierce, burning chemical defense mechanism again. The volatile, pungent oil immediately rises upward, filling the warm, modern culinary space with ancient memories. The crushed cloves meet sizzling golden oil, slowly softening their aggressive, harsh, bitter, wild botanical nature. Heat transforms the defensive, natural toxic poison, creating a deeply savory, sweet, roasted, and irresistible flavor. In this simple daily modern cooking act, we unknowingly replicate ancient magical rituals of our ancestors. We are tasting the precise, raw energy that desperately fueled tired, desperate slaves, building colossal pyramids. We breathe the exact same sharp sulfur that bravely shielded terrified medieval doctors from sudden death. The golden-infused oil quietly bubbles away, hiding a deeply violent and epic historical human timeline. What was once a brutal chemical weapon is now the absolute foundational heart of global cuisine. The camera slowly pulls back far away, leaving the hot iron skillet sizzling in the background. An unbroken white bulb rests silently alone, sitting quietly upon the dark, rustic, worn wooden table. Its delicate, pale, thin outer paper skin conceals the absolute resilient, immortal soul of human survival. It did not need sparkling, shiny gold or delicate, sweet, fragrant floral petals to conquer humanity. It only needed the fierce, brutal will to violently survive against all impossible and deadly odds.